Hello, once again. My name is Evas Atwine Nalongo, and I'm so happy to be with you once again this time to continue with our series on relationships and dating and marriage management. It's a joy to be talking about, it's a joy for me to be giving this guidance as a relationship coach and a family therapist. The reason we are doing this is that we can improve our skills to manage relationships. I must tell you once again that this doesn't come natural. These are learned skills, and unfortunately, we have assumed that we know we have them. They come natural, and so most of the challenges we are having in relationships and in marriage is because of ignorance of these important aspects. So I'm really happy to be sharing with you all, continuing with our series on relationship tips and dating. I must say that actually this session is important for both singles and the married because the principles are the same. So I talked about a foundation. So give me 1 minute to mention something about foundation, because foundation is everything. I deliberately referred to this as key foundational aspects of a successful relationship, dating, or marriage. Why do I emphasize the issue of foundation? I do recall when we were building our house, we had saved some money to build. In my head, I thought actually that money was enough to complete a house. I was so shocked that 80% of the budget went into the foundation. And I was so frustrated because I expected the house to come up and we paint and I had all the colors, but it turned out a big chunk really went into the foundation. And my husband took time to explain to me. And he said this. He said the foundation is the house. Now, why? Because it holds everything together. And that's why I'm calling this foundational aspects to a successful relationship. So please, I want you to put it that way, because I know that a foundation of any relationship determines its success. A foundation takes very heavy materials. This is what I learned. A lot of materials. I actually discovered that heavier steel bars go into the foundation. And I was also shocked at how much strength has to be emphasized, the level of precision that has to be put in. So it's the same thing with relationship. Any relationship to succeed, its foundation has to be strong. Can I tell you why I'm talking about that? Because some of the relationships really have very weak foundations when you think about it. Check how your relationship started. You know, what is in the foundation? When we talk about materials in the foundation of a relationship, we are talking trust, building trust. We are talking about commitment, and I'm going to talk about commitment in a little while. We're talking about how you treat each other, honesty, fairness, respect. All these things are supposed to get into the foundation of your relationship. And so on the basis of that, then you make a decision to continue with your marriage. And of course it continues, but it has to be there. Now, again, I just want to give you this challenge. Check how your relationship, the foundation that is holding your relationship, how strong is it? How much did you put in? You know, in this foundation, there is also an opportunity to learn, to unlearn certain things. You see, that gets in a relationship foundation as well. I must emphasize once again that the strength of your marriage or the strength of your relationship will depend on how much has gone into the foundation. If you just started on the surface and you're running with love, remember everyone, in a relationship has love. Love is there. But there are certain other things that have to be there. How practical is it? Love is a practical word. It's an action word. And so how have you unpacked your love to see how your relationship looks like, how the foundation of it looks like? Now, what is very interesting about a foundation is that when they are building it, it looks ugly, right? It looks so ugly. It's not exciting. It's not like painting the walls and all. But all that is happening. You have to dig a lot. You have to get in there. All that is happening because you're trying to build a firm foundation for your relationship. Now, again, it's very interesting that foundations are never seen later on, but they are down there with a lot of materials holding us. The thing I love, the one more thing I love about a foundation, about foundations, is that they are not to be rushed. Again, I'll tell you that when we were building, I really wanted this house to get done very quickly. But then they had to take time and do the foundations well. Sometimes it would rain. That whole ugly place would get so full of water, would get so flooded. But then they would clear it and had to do it well and make sure that the bars and all the other things are put in well. That's exactly what happens. When you're building a foundation, you have to not avoid digging deep, not avoiding putting certain things out. You have to make sure that you're deliberate about this. Unfortunately, foundations are not the most exciting things because, as I said, they are not they are not beautiful. When you look at them, they look ugly. But I want to encourage you that if you're going to have a good relationship later on, you have to be mindful about the foundation. Now, having said that, I'm sure some of you are saying, so if my foundation is bad, if I rushed it and I didn't dig deep to understand certain things, to put in a lot, so does it mean I'm finished? No, you're not. There is hope. The beauty of it, or the good message I have for you, or the good news I have for you today is that foundations can be revisited. I'm sure you have seen in some places where cracks have developed in a house and they have gone into the foundation and they are putting reinforcement. This happens. And so I want to encourage you, don't lose hope. In case you feel there are certain things you didn't do, you didn't invest time, you didn't do that, then as we go through the key foundational aspects or foundations that you need to pay attention to, if you're dating, if you're still finding a partner, this will work for you. If you've already found one, there's still hope that you can revisit them. Key foundations to a successful dating and marriage relationship. Number one is commitment. This commitment word confuses people. I have said it in other sessions that people think commitment, you have to first check out someone, they move in, you test them, you live together, then you commit. I must tell you that that's not the right way to do it. Let me tell you, commitment is different. Commitment is defined by the amount of effort each person puts into a relationship. It's not something, you don't commit to something you have already seen. Now, ask yourself, so who has made it so that you can see it and commit? Commitment is effort that you put into a relationship to make it the way you want it. Last time in the previous session, the very first session, I talked about a relationship goal. That if you're going to have a good, successful dating relationship that ends in marriage, it has to have a goal. The moment you define a goal, then you commit to that. You're seeing the end from the beginning, and so you're working towards that. Now, what the world is telling us is that first prove that it's good, it will make you happy, and then you commit to it. That's a wrong way of looking at commitment. Now, the thing is, commitment is the effort both of you put in. What do I mean by effort? When we talk about effort, we are talking about a number of things like self-scrutiny. I've told people that it's much easier to live alone than to live with someone. The moment you get another person in your life, just know that it's going to be a journey of adjustment and readjustment, changing, working towards being together. Now, that's not something that is easy. So you have to scrutinize yourself. You're going to have to overcome certain individualistic tendencies. You have to change. You have to look at life differently. And so you have to look at things that are standing on your way. And that's why I emphasize the issue of self-scrutiny. What is it? Am I okay? What is your self-concept? Do you know yourself? Do you know your weaknesses, your strengths, and how do they tie together with the person you're trying to be with? Okay? We are talking about conflict resolution. I've been assuring different audiences that marriage is a place where conflict is inevitable, but also life generally. Conflict is inevitable, and I'll be running a session on conflict management, effective conflict management. But that is commitment. You commit to resolving a conflict so that you can have a relationship. And we have all the tools. We have apology, we have forgiveness, we have, repentance. We have all those tools are there to help us resolve conflict and keep moving. That is commitment. That can never happen until you're committed to a relationship. If you know this relationship is important to you, then you're going to commit your energy to it. In psychology, we say that we never commit to anything until we consider it, unless we consider it important to us, something of value. If we consider something of value, we are going to commit to it. So if you're going to commit to a relationship, you have to give it value. You have to know that you have to have a goal. You have to determine that this relationship is important for me. When we talk commitment, we are also talking about committing to learning and unlearning. As I've already told you, most marriages or relationships are breaking because of selfishness. People want to live single but enjoy the benefits of marriage or a relationship. No. If you have gotten another person in your life, allow yourself to learn and unlearn. It is called a process of self-improvement. It is also called a growth mindset. You have allowed yourself to grow, understanding how to live with somebody else. We have to appreciate that until this time you have been alone. Now, if you have been alone, there's a way you do things, decision making, the choices you make, how you hang out, the friends you make. But the moment you get another person in your life, there are certain adjustments you have to make. And one of the reasons most relationships and marriages are breaking, again, is because people want to live a single life in a relationship or in marriage. And of course, transitioning. Transitioning, you have to be committed to transitioning. Now, having said that, I know that commitment is not one of the popular words in our culture now. Our society emphasizes individual rights, personal freedom, mobility. You have to have fun and you have to live your life. I hear statements of live your life. But how do you live your life when you're living with other people? Now, I know that is going to spark controversy. But what I mean is that the moment you have another person in your life, be committed to a relationship. Because this relationship reinforces you and your well-being. I have been saying this in other sessions, and let me emphasize that. Did you know that a good relationship is a source of good mental health? It's a big-time source of good mental health. A feeling of being loved, a feeling of self-worth, a feeling of, care. That's what life is about. I've told people that material things that we run after contribute only 10% to our wellness. and our health and our happiness in life. The rest of the things come from relationships. Unfortunately, we commit 90% to material pursuit and sometimes less than 10% to relationships. So the reason relationships are lousy most of the time is because we are not committing a lot of time. So if you want to have a good marriage, check. You have to put in. You have to commit. You have to know that it returns on investment. How much have you put in? I also want to remind you on this point that your marriage or your relationship doesn't owe you happiness. I hear people say, this relationship hasn't given me peace or happiness. No, it doesn't owe you happiness. Put happiness in a relationship. Commit to putting happiness, joy in a relationship, and then you'll get it back. It's a business venture. You cannot get from a business until you invest in it. And when I tell people marriage is a business, they say, what do you mean? No, it's business, my dear. So if you want to get stuff out, if you want to get joy, happiness, fulfillment, put that in. That's when you get it. Commit to that. Number 2, key. We are discussing key foundations to a successful, happy, fulfilling dating and marriage relationship. Number 2 is communication. What is communication? This is something that is talked about all the time. Sometimes we talk about it, but we don't even unpack it. People don't know. I do remember when I was going to get married, we had this story of communicate. And it's one of the areas we struggled with, just like all the other couples, because no one gives you details. Everyone tells you communication is the bloodline of a relationship. Communication is key. Now, I want to promise that I'm going to run a separate session on skillful communication for healthy relationships. But for now, let me tell you, communication is to love as blood is to the body. Communication is what we thrive on, and it's not just exchanging information. It is about talking about ourselves. It's about sharing feelings. It's about sharing our hearts and joys. It's about how we connect, because we communicate everything. We connect with each other. It's a way of connecting with each other. It's not just about exchanging information. Now, take blood out of the body and it dies. Take communication away from a relationship, it dies, And if you cannot talk at that level, if you cannot engage at that level and connect and know each other's feelings, it gets complicated. Now, so at this point, I'll tell you that if your communication can't get below the surface and examining the hows and whys of life and daily living, just to know that probably it's tough. I always love to use these 3 types or levels of communication. The first level is called taxi level communication. Taxi level communication is where you just do the basics. Hello, how was your day? Fine. And so there's nothing, what's going on, there's nothing, how did you hear, there's nothing, I feel like this, you just do like. And the reason it's called taxi level kind of communication is because just imagine you get into a taxi, you see this person, you don't care where they are going or what they are thinking, you do the obligatory thing of, oh, hello, just to look human and behave human, but you don't care about them. Unfortunately, most relationships operate at this level. Intimate relationships, moreover. Marriage, you just communicate at that level. Hello, how are you? And that's all. That's called taxi level. The second level is a little better than taxi. It's called logistical. Logistical communication is where your communication is just focused on logistics. Did you pick the children? Some people, some partners don't even greet. I called to check, did you pick the children? Have you dropped the children? Have you fixed the car? Have you it's called logistical. You're basically discussing the things that run your life, but not life itself, okay? And the third level is what we call emotional. Emotional level communication is when you get below the surface, is where you connect, is where you're able to ask your partner, are you okay? What are you thinking? What are you feeling? And is where you listen to your partner and they tell you, I feel like this. Is where you have one of those conversations that are not pleasant and somebody is able to say, do you know when you say this, I feel like this. You know, I really don't think I like this. That's the kind of relationship. It's emotional. It connects you. You get to know. It's a communication that helps you to define boundaries, where you're able to say, that one, when you do it, I don't like it. Is it possible that you don't say it that way? Is it possible that you don't do this that way? That helps you to connect. So communication is extremely important. And again, I don't have all the time now in this session to explain in detail. But let me also tell you very quickly the three components of good and respectful communication. I think you have met it somewhere in other series, but let me just share this with you. Three components. One, your choice of words. Your choice of words. Why people fear to communicate is they don't know how to choose wise or good, respectful words. What we call life-giving words. Most of the time we use killer words. And these, sometimes we use them when we are angry, but other times we use them to manipulate people and to manipulate each other, and we want to show them they are not doing well, and then we pull out this killer word of, you have to style up, you have to man up, I don't think you're man enough, I don't think you're woman enough. Can I just say, please don't use killer words. Be careful. If you're going to have good communication, which brings connection, you have to choose your words carefully. And I've been saying, let me tell you that words account for 7%, only 7% of all good communication. But words have the power to kill or to build. You can build your partner, you can kill them without beating them. You can just put a word there and it's enough to deflate them. They feel useless, they run out of emotional energy and a sense of self-worth. Please be very sensitive about the choice of words, while dating and also in marriage. So if you want to check a good relationship or to have a good relationship, start from that point. And I get people ask, so do I have to walk on eggshells around this person, trying to look for words? Yes. Make sure you don't just throw words away, because any word sent out there, and it's a killer word, it's very hard. It's very, very hard to change or minimize the effect that it makes on that person. It has already gone out. Be very careful. That's why the Bible talks about kind words being like honeycomb, and harsh words crush the spirit. Read Proverbs 15 verse 1. So it's very, very important that we are careful with the words we use on a person we love or a person we say we love. Component number 2 of a good and respectful communication is voice tone. Voice tone, friends, I know some of us pride in being rough. I just say it as it is, and then, I just say it the way I feel. Be very careful, because you have to mind about how the person receiving this information feels. Don't just push words out there. Don't push it with this huge attitude, loaded attitude, yelling. That disrespect doesn't help anyone. So if you want to have a successful relationship, sometimes we act, we pretend when we are dating and we are a little kinder. Then we remove gloves after we have gotten married. Please maintain it. Be very careful that yelling doesn't help anyone. A person has the capacity to understand your message. Just package it well. Diplomacy is everything. say that, I've been saying that human beings respond to light and warmth. Be kind, be compassionate, be careful not to yell. Whenever we yell, the person receiving information misses information and hears the noise. Let me emphasize the importance of communication as a key foundational issue in relationships, or for the success of a relationship. Is that when somebody shows you they don't respect you, by the way they communicate while dating, be very careful. Be very careful. I've already mentioned in other sessions that anything you see, any weakness in your partner you see during dating, give it a factor of 10 and check how it will be when you get married. Because at dating point, you're still, being nice to each other, lots of, feelings and all. But later on, when you start managing life and getting into the dynamics of relationship management, it's likely to get worse. So we grow in what we have. So if you're disrespectful, you're going to grow in that area, most likely. So that's communication. Key foundational issue number 3, patience. Patience. For any relationship to succeed, we need patience. Now, I'm aware that we live in an instant world, a world of fast foods, cash machines, computer access to information, Google. Our son, whenever he's looking for something at home, he says, "Can I ask Google Assistant?" Even he's looking for his shoes or something, he wants to ask. So that's the world we live in. We live in a direct dial communication all over the world, and it feels like quite instant. But unfortunately, relationships are not run that way. And one of the reasons most relationships are not succeeding is because of impatience. Impatience. That's why people are divorcing in 3 months time. And they say we are not compatible. Now think about it. Really? 3 months, 8 months? We have seen them. People have gone back home. Others have walked out of their marriages and are renting other premises because they think this person cannot change or cannot be better. Impatience, friends. I want to tell you that each person is work in progress. We all have opportunities for self-improvement. I have mentioned it in other sessions. Let me say it again. Did you know that the quality of the person, of your partner, is a reflection on how much you have put in? I've told people that we marry 3 persons in one. The person you dated and thought you knew. The second person is the person that they really are when you start living together from Monday to Sunday, or you're no longer hanging out in restaurants, but you spend more time together. And the third person is the person they become because of you, because of the marriage relationship. Now, can we try to be patient? Don't write off your partner. Don't write off the person you're dating because you have seen the first mistake or first weakness. Yes, we are all a pack of weaknesses and strengths. So you can't expect that the person you have is perfect. And when I run a session on red flag, that's a red flag. If you sense somebody is impatient with you and cannot believe you have a weakness, that's, by the way, a red flag. So don't settle in that place. Just to know that we are supposed to be patient with each other. We can never heat up our relationships in a microwave. We just have to allow some of the natural processes to occur for all of us to experience self-improvement in life and growth. So it's very important that we become patient, and a good relationship takes time. And when it takes time, somebody has gone through the process, has learned. Remember, you're dealing with an adult. You can't just rush them. Even children can't be rushed. So you have to care to become, for this relationship to become beautiful and natural, and it grows, rather than manipulate someone to be what they aren't. We have to learn to give each other chance to be nurtured and to be improved by a relationship. If that relationship doesn't provide that kind of patience, you notice that someone is running out of patience, most likely it will not work, right? So try it, and always remember, it's what you are investing in. If you're any better than your partner, if you're dating a person and you have this strength, you probably will realize the strength you have are the weaknesses they have. And so we are supposed to help each other. It's a ministry of building each other. It is an investment. And so if you are investing in something, you can't judge it. You can't say, oh, how? This thing is supposed to really give me peace. I want to keep emphasizing that your relationship doesn't owe you peace. You owe it peace. You need to invest it in that relationship, and then it will come back to you. The fourth key foundational aspect to a successful dating and marriage relationship is your belief system, or the personal, what we call personal value system. Remember, we are more than a bundle of feelings and physical sensations. Unfortunately, we give so much attention to feelings and physical sensations, and this person makes me feel. Now that's important, but you have to go beyond that. You have to see what somebody believes in. I've had people say, I'm this, but he makes me feel. Be very careful. Feelings are flimsy. You may not sustain them. You have to make sure that your love is based on logic. It goes beyond sensations. It goes beyond feelings. It can be justified. You're saying, I think we agree on the same thing. It's very important. When we talk about beliefs and personal values, we are talking about a standard of life that guides our behavior. If your standard of life is completely different, this person believes there's no God, you believe there is God. This person doesn't believe in upholding core family values, you believe in that. Like, there's nothing that brings you together. But then when you meet, you laugh. And I've had some young people say, he's funny. He just makes me funny. Now, that's okay. But be very careful that that funny thing may not be sustained. You need to get deeper, below the surface. Check, what do they believe in? Because most relationships and marriages are breaking as a result of completely different belief systems. Because when you get together finally, you have to be agreeing on certain things. And these are going to be based on what you believe in, okay? If you say, for me, I believe our children should go to a Christian school, and they say, what's the matter with that? You say, we have to go to church, and church is people disagreeing on tithe and other things. Well, and then you marry someone who doesn't even believe there is God, who doesn't go to church. That is going to be a problem. So your belief system, what informs your belief system? What do you believe in, right? And so this is something that you need to pay attention to, because an inner core of our being, an eternal part of who we are, that represents the deepest, most permanent aspect of our relationship. So our core being is what holds our relationships together. And if you're not on the same page, that is likely to be a problem. In this, whenever I talk about personal value systems, I talk about non-negotiables. Some of the things you can't negotiate. And you say, this is it. I'm a Christian, for instance. I can't marry someone who doesn't believe in God, or who is not a Christian, who is not committed. That's your non-negotiable. Now, later on, don't say, oh, they've just made me feel funny. Oh, they are nice to be around. Now, that may not be sustainable. So it's so important that you go below the surface and check what each one of you believes in. Remember, you're going to live in the long term. Life is in the long term. It's not in the moment. So the moment you don't pay attention to core things, core character issues, core belief systems, core personal value systems, then you're likely to have a problem. Don't go on the surface, go down. Number 5, and the last, is the power of agreement. The power of agreement. Friends, the reason we kill each other, the reason marriages are breaking, the reason relationships stand sour is that we cannot work together. We do not agree. The power of agreement is very strong. It holds the potential for happiness, joy, and celebration of life. Agreement. It's so beautiful. It comes beautiful. Some of you out there who are married or are dating, just think about the time you discuss things and you seem to agree. And even if you don't hold the same views, one of you is willing to say, well, I hold a different view, but go ahead, I think it does no harm. That feeling is so powerful. It is so good. And allow me to use scripture once again. Scripture in Amos chapter 3, verse 3. It says, two cannot walk together unless they agree. Now, I've already talked about different values, you're not walking the same direction. One of you is going west, another one is going east. Your values don't connect. You're not looking at life the same way, and so you cannot work together. That relationship most likely won't work. So don't settle in the excitement of feelings and personal sensations. Once again, make sure you pay attention to, do we look at life the same way, right? There are certain core things. And I get people ask me, young people ask me, but does this matter in a religion? Really, the same religion, does it matter? Oh, same coming from the same place, does it matter? And I say everything in marriage matters. Everything in a dating relationship matters. What I want to emphasize is that the way you look at it, you may not look at things the same way, but you're willing to make adjustments. You might not hold the same values for now, but you're willing to adjust towards each other, right? You may not come from the same clan or tribe, but that doesn't matter. So the way you look at your view, your world view matters a lot. You may not be, educated the same way, but that doesn't matter. Some of you men who are out there, your wife might be earning more money, but that's not an issue. You agree. You're not holding certain feelings. So that's the power of agreement. That doesn't stand in the way of your decision making. Make sure that you pay attention to that. That's why, again, Scripture talks about unequal yoking. Let me emphasize that. Some of you out there who are believers, you're saved, then all of a sudden you say, that doesn't matter. This person is nice. That's okay. They could be. And I have heard some people say, oh, it doesn't matter as long as they are good. That's okay. But remember, there are certain foundational things. You're going to make decisions regarding how you run life. Sooner or later you have children. Sooner or later you have to go together to church. Then somebody doesn't agree, right? Some of those things, I've just given one example. Don't think it's all about that. But make sure that you do not compromise on things that you realize you need to have agreement on. Avoid selfishness, right? When we talk about agreement, the reason most of us can't agree or relationships can't thrive is selfishness. People want to live single in marriage. It's about me, but you have another person on your side. I keep talking to a number of people and I hear them say, she's wrong, honestly. Absolutely. No, you cannot have that. Once you have another person in your life, you have to listen to them and you have to adopt this mindset of, I could be wrong, maybe he's right or maybe she's right. That's a sign of maturity. Agreement is a sign of maturity. When we talk about compatibility, it's about the way we look at life. It's nothing else. And so the power of agreement is a very important area. Make sure when you're dating, you keep an eye on that. If you're ever fighting over ideas of where to go, check what happens. And you're still dating, you're fighting, disagreeing, doing things differently, everyone running, I have to do things that give me peace. Be very careful that that relationship might not survive for long. So I hope this is really helpful. Please feel free to give us feedback and ask questions. I'm absolutely ready to respond to your concerns, and let's keep talking. It's a journey of learning and self-improvement, so let's keep engaging. Thank you so much, and God bless you.